set up W3 Total Cache. I'm going to show you the typical settings and how to install it. Now these settings are pretty much how I set up a lot of the new sites that I use, whether it's going to have a CDN on it or not. Typically I set it up for if it's not going to have a CDN because there's an easier way to do it, and I usually use Cloudflare. So if you're interested in that, I'll have another video on how to set up Cloudflare with W3 Total Cache. You can check that out if you're interested. Anyway, so the first thing you're going to want to do is log into your WordPress website and then go to your plugins page over here and go ahead and highlight Add New. And then you're going to want to search for W3 Total Cache. You should be able to just type in W3 and hit enter, and it should be one of the first ones to pop up right here. Go ahead and click install and then click activate, and once it pops up, and then it's going to be done. And then what you're going to want to do is go to the settings page. So go ahead, and on the left hand side you're going to see a new tab that pops up. It'll probably show up here on the top also, and here on the left hand side. One thing I want to point out though, right here is for purge all your caches. So if you ever have an issue, you can purge your caches, and this really won't hurt anything if you purge your caches. So if you ever have an issue, you can purge your caches. So what I usually use on most of my websites to speed them up is what I do is, and the best thing to do is go one by one when you're setting these up, because sometimes depending on your site and how you have it set up, it might break something. So go ahead and do one, save, check it, do the other one, save, check it, so the first thing I always enable is my page cache. And the other thing you want to make sure is on disk enhanced, okay? You're going to have a bunch of different options here, but leave it on disk enhanced. Go ahead and click save settings and purge caches, and then go ahead and check your website. Make, kind of navigate around a little bit, make sure nothing is broken. If everything is good, then go ahead to the next step. Now you can minify your site. My theme actually already takes care of that, so I don't enable this on this theme. And sometimes with the code and the CSS that I use, it breaks it a lot of times. So I usually leave this off. And if you do have an issue where something is getting broken or something's not working right, and you have minify on, go ahead and turn it off and then check it. But make sure you purge the cache after you do anything. The other thing you're going to want to turn on is you're going to want to turn on your browser cache. This enables HTTP compression. It helps the headers, it reduces the server load time. I mean, you can see it right in front of you. This really helps your website. So go ahead and enable that, and then purge your caches again. Check your website again, make sure everything is working right, looks right, and then what you can do is go down here, and if you're going to want to set up like a CDN or something, this is where you're going to want to set it up. If you're going to use Cloudflare, there's an easier way to do that, and I'll show you that in a different video. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is set up your page cache and stuff. Typically this is what I use on most of my sites, is I cache my post page, I cache my SSL requests, and I don't cache in for people that are logged in. And the reason being is, say if somebody has their carts, or if you change an item or do something, this if they're having it's cached, it won't display right. You sometimes have issues when people are logged in and caching. So I usually turn that off, especially if you're an e-commerce website. I mean, if you get advanced, you can always set this up correctly, but I suggest leaving it off. I mean, if you're getting to the point where you need it on, you can always do a little more research into that. But other than that, you can see my settings right here. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. But other than that, this is pretty much all just generates automatically. I didn't put any of this stuff in. It gets generated automatically when you set up W3 cache. And then your object cache, you can see I believe all this it stays like this because I have it off on this site. But you can turn object cache on. I know it will sometimes break things too, because you got to remember you're caching your data, so it can break stuff. So as I said, if you can always turn on your object cache, you can turn on your database cache, but do stuff one by one to make sure you don't break anything. But typically what I only use is the page cache, and then I use the down here the browser cache. And then as I said, my theme minifies it already. So those are the two ones I basically use. The other stuff I usually leave off because it tends to break stuff. But other than that, if you got any questions, hit me up, guys.